Good afternoon. I'm Christopher Chestnut of the Chestnut Law Firm. I'm a plaintiff attorney. I've been hired by the family of Mr. Larry Cook, who was a student leader here at the University of Dayton, in Dayton, Ohio. He tragically lost his life earlier this week on the campus of University of Dayton. He fell from a 6th floor dormitory. The university has made representations publicly that this was a suicide. The family's retained me to investigate, conduct an independent investigation as to the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Cook. Our investigation to date has yielded that this indeed is not a suicide. The family is asking local law enforcement to conduct a homicide investigation. The circumstances surrounding the death of Larry Cook indicate that this likely is a homicide, but we are very confident, in fact 100% emphatic, that this was not a suicide and that this warrants further investigation as to what happened to Larry Cook and an investigation as to the safety of the students here at University of Dayton today.
What indicates or what leads you to believe that this was something other than a suicide?
Well, we have cause to believe, we're in the very initial stages of our investigation, that this may be related to a hazing incident. The way the body was positioned of Mr. Cook, where he fell, is not indicative whatsoever of him jumping voluntarily from the 6th floor. The height of the windowsill would likely require, considering his height, him to use some sort of object, let's say a chair or table, to thrust himself over the ledge. There's no evidence that any of the tables, in fact, local law enforcement has confirmed that there was no disruption whatsoever in the room abutting the window which he fell out of. There were no psychological issues. Larry was a student leader here, very jovial. You'll see the posts on the internet. All of his friends say that he had a brilliant smile. It was an omnipresent smile. There's nothing to demonstrate his grades were up. There's nothing to demonstrate that Larry Cook had any reason, any cause, or any propensity to take his own life.
Any idea that drugs or alcohol may have been a factor or played a part in what happened?
Not at all. Not at all. To date. Again, the autopsy report hasn't been released yet officially, and it usually takes 6 weeks. But the concern here is, Dayton police have assigned a homicide detective. Yet the school, the University of Dayton, is running articles saying that this was a suicide. And so all the family wants is an objective analysis, an objective investigation, find the facts first before making allegations. There's nothing about this young man that demonstrates that he would want to commit suicide. So at least allow the local law enforcement in Dayton, Ohio to conduct a homicide investigation before concluding that this is a suicide. We're very confident that at the conclusion of the homicide investigation, that this will not be ruled a suicide. We'd appreciate the university withholding any further allegations until that they can make an objective finding, our law enforcement can make an objective finding of the same.
Sir, you're saying that the university is publishing articles that state that this was a suicide, but could you indicate where you found this?
Well, university officials have informed the family that they didn't need to investigate the circumstances surrounding Larry's death because it was a suicide. This is before they interrogated any students on the 6th floor of the hall. This is before they didn't even lock down a quadrant off of the immediate vicinity of Larry's death, or the window where Larry allegedly fell or jumped out of, or the space on the ground that has now been paved over where Larry fell to. So there's been no preservation of evidence, no preservation of testimony, no investigation whatsoever by university police, and here we are 3 or 4 days after his death.
But there was also no indication from university officials that Larry was a member of a fraternity or any other organization that would even have hazing.
Good. And that is further evidence that there may have been hazing. You're hazed into an organization, not after you're in it. So if you're a member of a fraternity, you're probably not going to be hazed.
Sure.
If you're trying to get in the organization, that's generally when you're hazed. And, I'm handling a hazing case in Florida against the FAMU band, and they were hazing into the position, not after you got the position. But furthermore, listen, we're not making any allegations as to what specifically happened to Larry Cook. What we're asking university to do is do the same. We're saying that this warrants an investigation, it warrants preservation of evidence, it warrants interrogating students, or at least asking them what happened before coming to a conclusion that he took his own life.
So what indicates that it's hazing? Why couldn't it have been a homicide for something else?
It could be a litany of things. Our concern is, why is the university labeling it a suicide? What evidence is there? prima facie evidence is there that this is a suicide, and our position is there's none.
Why are you labeling it as a hazing?
There are circumstances involved in this, and we're still investigating, that may suggest hazing, but it doesn't suggest anything.
Is Larry an African-American student? Caucasian student?
Larry's an African-American student, 18-year-old African-American student from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Did you contact the family following this, or did the family contact you?
The family contacted us. We've handled a number of hazing cases and negligent security cases involving death throughout the country, and so the family contacted us to conduct an independent investigation because they became very concerned when the school alleged that this was a suicide in the absence of any evidence suggesting such.
And when were you retained, I guess?
I was retained yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yes.
Have you spoken with the university?
We're conducting our own independent investigation, sir.
So you have not had any contact with the university?
There's
or the
really
university police? Or?
Oh no, the family's spoken extensively with the university police department. I have not, but I'm certain that my investigators will be speaking with them in the immediate. At this point, we're saying that we're going to do an independent investigation because this family is emphatic that this was not a suicide, and we want to get to the bottom of what really happened. So we will be speaking with university officials, university investigators, university police department, and hopefully the local police department as well.
You continue to talk about the university making claims, This is in fact a Dayton police investigation. It has been turned over to their homicide unit, and the coroner's office has ruled this a suicide. They told us that is their official ruling. They have ruled it a suicide.
They've told us that as well.
I mean, what is your response to that? You keep saying the university claims without knowing the facts, but the coroner has done an investigation and ruled it a suicide.
So the coroner's done an autopsy, which means they've inspected the internal organs of the body. There is a lot of circumstantial evidence at the scene that we feel was not adequately preserved. Generally, you first investigate before coming to a conclusion. So, for instance, when there's a suicide, there's no need to quadrant off the area involved in the immediate area of alleged suicide or death. There's no need to ask students what happened, what they heard, what they saw. That is yet to happen because this was ruled a suicide. Now, if this was just an objective investigation, then perhaps students would have been interrogated. Perhaps they would have preserved the scene. Now, these are representations made to the family. That's why they've hired us. I can neither confirm or deny what exactly has happened. I'm simply here to tell you today that we're on the ground and we're going to conduct an independent investigation.
But we've spoke with students who have said that they have been interviewed by detectives. We read in the Dayton Police Department report that the area inside and outside of the building was cordoned off during police presence there as Larry's body was being taken care of. I'm just curious. It seems as though police procedure was followed here. Are you alleging that something else is the case?
I'm not alleging that there was any deviation from the standard of care of the local police department here at the University of Dayton. We have concerns as to the adequacy of that investigation, notwithstanding such. Based upon the representations made by law enforcement to the family, they said that they ruled it a suicide and so that a further investigation wasn't necessary. So they've confirmed to the family that they didn't take fingerprints, that they didn't interrogate students, that they didn't inspect the immediate area for any forensic evidence.
But we were up there and we saw that the window had been dusted.
I was up there. I didn't see that.
Okay. Were you up there the day that it happened?
I was up there today.
Okay. My next question was Larry...
Were you up there the day it happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Was Larry pledging a fraternity?
I can neither confirm or deny.
Do you know?
Again, at this time, sir, we're not making any conclusive allegations. I'm simply here to say that I can simply say that we're here today to initiate an independent investigation because we do not believe Larry Cook committed suicide. He had no reason. He had no reason.
Has an official complaint been filed?
Not as of yet.
Is an official complaint in the works to be filed?
We are conducting our own independent investigation, and pending the findings of that investigation, we will certainly take the necessary course of action to ensure that justice is served. Any other questions?
Any indication that there was a suicide note left?
There's no suicide note left. He had just been with his very good friend studying until hours before he was discovered. He mentioned nothing of suicide. He actually talked of he was planning to celebrate his 19th birthday in a few days. There were no indications whatsoever of suicide. He'd just been home just before Easter. No indications of suicide, no indications of depression. He was involved in intramural basketball, football, a lot of extracurricular activities on campus. He hadn't withdrawn from any of those. He didn't seem to be withdrawn from any of those activities. So again, nothing is consistent with the suicide. Any other questions?
We've heard rumors of drug use. Can you confirm or deny, based on what you know from the family, that Larry would have used any sort of illegal substance or illegal substance?
I think that would be confirmed through the toxicology report, which would come out with the autopsy report.
Thanks, sir.
I guess I just want to understand that you seem to be very pointing fingers at the university for not doing an investigation. Do you think that the impetus is on a private university to do an investigation when the police department, who has a homicide staff and resources that do these investigations 50 times a year, that they have said that they are taking over this investigation?
It seems as though they would have more resources to do so.
I think that a university must protect its students from needless harm and danger. Consistent therewith, I believe that the university police department owes a duty to its students to investigate any crime that occurs on campus. If they lack the resources, then that's one thing. Their representation to this family was not that their investigation was concluded because they lacked the resources. They stated to the family that they were not going to investigate because they immediately ruled it a homicide. That is of grave concern.
Suicide.
You said homicide.
I'm sorry, suicide, correct. So the fact that they immediately ruled it a suicide is of grave concern, absent an investigation.
Now, representatives of the police department here at UD have told our organization...
You're the one that published an article, right? Did you publish an article?
This is the University of Dayton student newspaper.
Okay. And you've published an article, correct?
Yes, sir.
With a photo of him?
Yes, sir.
And that's about the suicide, correct?
Have told
Okay.
our organization that they are cooperating with the coroner's office and other law enforcement. Would you say that, from what you've heard, that's not actually the case?
I'm not saying anything. We're not making any allegations. All we're saying is that we're conducting an independent investigation because the university, including the university newspaper, has characterized this as a suicide. We think that is premature. We think it is malfeasance. This investigation will take its course, but to accuse Larry Cook of committing suicide in the absence of due process and investigation is malfeasance. And the university and its newspaper should be ashamed of it.